Has there been a moment when you realized that the failure has actually been a blessing in disguise?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that my failures have probably been the most important things that have happened in my life because I've realized I've only learned, like genuinely learned, and the things that have genuinely made me change and grow were the things that would be deemed failures. Like that's what actually was the catalyst to push me forward. Anytime I was successful in something, I didn't really learn much from it. But there was one particular instance, and it was the very beginning of my base jumping career. I just started out. I only had just under 40 base jumps, and I still wasn't even thinking about doing it professionally, really. I didn't know I would be able to make a living from it, and it was just at the time more of a hobby, a passion, just something I really wanted to do. And I was in South Africa. I was visiting friends, and we were jumping off a bunch of different objects, and I had a really, really bad accident. I hit a waterfall. I broke my back in 3 places, all my ribs, left foot, right knee.
How do you hit the waterfall?
Well, so basically, I was doing a slider down jump. The waterfall is 300 feet tall. I was still very new. I didn't really have that much skill yet. And when I stepped off the waterfall, I dipped a shoulder. So my left shoulder dropped. And as that happened, it created an asymmetrical opening, meaning I loaded one side of the canopy first, which was the left side, which forced my parachute to open with a 90-degree left-hand turn, meaning I opened exactly to the left from where I was supposed to be flying. And that
out of nowhere, a waterfall.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew a waterfall was there. Like I knew that before jumping off, and I knew that if I got 90 left, it would be bad. So the instant it happened, I actually think I kind of forced it to happen because it's one of those things where, like, you're driving a car, you look someplace, you go that place. I was like, don't get a 90 left, don't get 90 left, don't get 90 left, and I kind of gave myself a 90 left. And when I got it, I instantly saw the waterfall, and I instantly knew, this was the worst thing, like the worst case scenario. This was as big a failure as you could get in the base jumping environment. And I knew, okay, I need to get away from this thing. I grab a rear riser on my right-hand side, trying to turn the canopy away. And I actually pull it, and I'm turning away from the waterfall. And at a certain point, I'm like, oh, I think I made it because I'm looking away, and I think I'm good. And then all of a sudden, I feel something touching the back of my legs, and it's the waterfall. And as it's touching the back of my legs, I just feel it suck me in. And as it sucks me in, it collapses the parachute, and I actually end up behind the waterfall. And I actually watch the waterfall go out in front of me. And as the waterfall goes out in front of me, I look down and I just see like ledges of rocks. And I end up impacting the first ledge of rocks in a sitting position, which broke my spine 3 places. It cracked teeth. And then I kind of fell forward, and I impacted a second time, which crushed ribs and hyperextended my right knee and broke I didn't even realize it until later, but it broke my ankles as well. And then I fell an unknown distance into the pool of water underneath. Luckily, there weren't rocks there because I hit head first, and it would have killed me for sure. So I hit it, the waterfall pushed me under, and the experience was incredibly brutal, very painful. And in any normal kind of person, if I'd had a normal kind of mindset and a normal kind of way of seeing things, it would have been a career-ending injury. It would have been the end of jumping for any sane, rational human being. And, the rescue ended up taking 9 hours. It was long and brutal, and I was eaten alive by animals for like 3 hours while I was waiting for rescue. There were these
lions.
No, they were little freshwater crabs that lived in the water that were just chewing on the open wounds that I got shredded as I hit the waterfall. So it was an incredibly horrific experience that I could never have imagined having. Like it was way worse than I could ever. I could never have thought something like that would occur, or it would be that bad or that painful, and that it would take that long to recover. And when I was in the emergency room, the doctor in the emergency room comes to me and he's like, he was telling me kind of like the laundry list of my injuries. It was after they did the MRIs and all the x-rays and stuff. And he's just like going through like how bad it is and like what it was going to take to kind of recover from it. And he said something, he's like, I bet you're never going to do that again. which, most normal human beings would respond with, I'm not going to do that again. But I looked at him and I said, there's only 2 things in the world that would prevent me from base jumping. And he's like, what's that? And I'm like, quadriplegia or death. And he's like, okay, well, I guess you'll do it again, But what was fascinating is, I'm laying in a hospital in South Africa, staring at a ceiling for months. I mean, it was a long time. I was there for a long time, all by myself. I had different people coming through my room because I was in like a common room, but I was in there longer than everyone else. So people would come and leave and come and leave, and I was just there. But, it's interesting because I got home from that experience. I had to be air vac back to the United States. And then I went through another like rehab and stuff while I was there. And I was, trying to figure out like what was going to happen with my life and what I was going to do. And I ended up licensing that footage to a TV show called Real Sports. Or not Real Sports, called Real TV. The show is called Real TV. And I ended up licensing footage to them, and they paid me pretty good for it, along with a bunch of other footage that I got from that same trip. And then, from there, I'm like, it was a decent amount of money, and it gave me enough to where I could quit my job. I was working for my parents at the time as a graphic artist, which is a job I hated. I didn't like it at all. And I really wanted to just base jump. And I'd gotten a big enough chunk of money to where I could go on probably like maybe 5 or 6 more trips, and I'm like, well, I licensed this footage, so maybe I'll go on those trips and I'll get some more footage, and then I could maybe license that. And what's interesting is I ended up licensing that footage for the next decade. And it was weird because I go on other trips and I do other things, but no one ever wanted to pay me for any of that. Like I jumped off the Eiffel Tower, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge, I jumped off, all these things that I thought were going to be like, people are going to love this, people are going to want to see this, but no one gave a shit about any of that. It just so happened that they just kept buying my accident over and over and over. I had one producer buy it 3 different times for 3 different shows. And I even asked him at one point, he's like, isn't this getting kind of boring? He's like, no, it's great. We have new audiences all the time. It's a wonderful story. And what I found out is that, people love watching other people get destroyed. They love to watch accidents. They love watching people get hurt. But what they like even more than watching a person get hurt is they like seeing them get hurt and completely demolished and then get back up and do it again. Yeah. That was the story. Yeah. The story of that accident wasn't just that I got hurt. It was that I got hurt. I then went and recovered and then went right back to doing it. And what was fascinating is that they would buy the Golden Gate Bridge and they would buy the Eiffel Tower footage and they would buy my other footage in conjunction to that story. So they would show the failure, they would show the getting hurt, they would show the getting messed up, and then they would buy the other footage to show that I came back to do it again. And I think what was fascinating is I didn't realize this till many, many years later, that moment was literally the most important moment of my life. It allowed me to quit a job I absolutely hated and despised and wasn't any good at. It was pure nepotism. The only reason I had a job was because my parents gave it to me, and I was terrible at it. And it makes you feel bad to making money at something you suck at, And it gave me the opportunity to earn a living doing something I genuinely loved. And without that accident, like if I had not hit that waterfall, I would never have been able to become a professional base jumper. There's no question. Selling that footage and licensing that footage gave me the finances to continue traveling the world, to continue jumping. It gave me the connections to the producers that would give me work in the future for other things. And it created the entire foundation for my entire career. And now looking back, it was not a failure at all. Now, at the time, I felt like a failure. At the time, it seemed like I had failed. But as it turns out, that was the actual catalyst to my entire career spanning 30 years. And it's funny because I look throughout my life and I start realizing that, the things that seemed the worst, like the darkest and the most brutal and the most violent and the most painful, like the suffering, turned out to be the things that helped me grow, helped me become something new. It's where I learned. That's where I actually learned something. You know, I have thousands of jumps that were successful. I didn't learn anything from any of them other than how to have a good time. And having fun is great. There's nothing wrong with having fun. That's good. But I didn't actually grow from any of it. Yeah. What I grew from was the pain. What I grew from was the suffering. What I grew from was the actual getting destroyed and broken. And that failure, another thing. So not only did it give me a career and I earned a living from that for a very long time, which then kind of was the foundation of everything else, it also saved my life in the long run, because what happened is in that failure, I learned what it meant to make a mistake and how serious it can be and how much it can hurt and how it can really, I mean, people don't understand how valuable being able to get out of bed and go into the bathroom by yourself is, right? That's just something we all think is just a given. You're supposed to be able to get out of bed and you're supposed to be able to go to the bathroom by yourself. And that's just how it is. But when it's taken from you, when you are literally crippled and you literally cannot move and you're trapped in a bed, and in order to go to the bathroom, you have to ring a little bell. And then a person comes in with a little bedpan, and then they have to lift you off the bed and your back is broken. So it causes extreme pain. And then they stick the bedpan under you, and then they have to stand there with you while you take a poop, you know, and it's really gross and it smells and it's horrible. And you can see that they're not enjoying themselves because it's not a fun experience, not for them, not for you, not for anyone. And for me, it was a very mortifying, very unpleasant experience. I really didn't like it. If hell existed, it would involve bedpans. I hate them with a passion. Like it's upsetting. It causes a visceral thing just talking about it. That's how upsetting it is. So I do not like them. And I've unfortunately experienced them multiple times. That wasn't my only one. But the concept was that the first day that I was able to get out of bed by myself and go to the bathroom by myself, I was so happy. Like it was just this absolute magical moment. And it's weird to all of a sudden, you know, appreciate something that's so simple. And even to this day, I mean, hell, this is how many years later, 2.5 decades later, when I go to the bathroom in the morning, it's just the best thing ever. I'm like hung. I walk into the bathroom just like, this is amazing. I sit down and I was like, yes. It's like, and it's fascinating because it kind of helped me appreciate the simple things of life better. And beyond that, it also made me realize that I need to be much more careful when I'm base jumping. All right, I need to put more thought into it.
Yeah, in a sport that is the most deadly in the world, like failure is like real consequences.
Well, and it's not just the thing. I always thought that death was the worst case scenario, but you don't know what happened. You're dead. You don't even know you're dead. But when you get really badly injured, and it takes you years to recover from it, and then you never really. I'm still injured from that. Like my back, I've been in constant pain since that injury. My back has never gotten better. I'm in pain sitting here right now from that injury. So when that happens to you, you start to, the reason why I say that accident saved my life is because it made me start approaching base jumping where I started evaluating risk much better. So one, it created a career for me out of a career-ending injury, which is crazy. It made me appreciate my life and just very simple things on a level that I couldn't have without it. And then it also made me really focus on, okay, do not fuck up right now. Because if you do, you're going to be back with the bedpan. And that bedpan terrifies me, right? So I'm like, I do not want the bedpan again. So it really did make me take things more seriously. And I think in the long run, one of the things that helped save me was that it gave me a more meticulous approach to try to avoid the bedpan.
Right.